The Supreme Court has thrown out part of the New York State Eviction Moratorium. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have good news for landlords up in New York State. And it all has to do with the New York State Eviction Moratorium. And the Supreme Court made a recent decision about it, and it's really good news for landlords. But before I get into that article, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you want to see on this channel. I'm going to work to keep bringing you articles about the eviction moratorium and other news that's of interest to landlords. So, this article, it comes from apnews.com, and it says, Supreme Court blocks part of New York eviction moratorium. Finally, a court case that is good news for landlords. Now, this might be specific to New York, but anything that gets rid of any part of this eviction moratorium and helps landlords get those bad tenants out of their properties is a good thing. Okay, so let's get into this article and see what it says. The Supreme Court on Thursday blocked part of New York's moratorium on evictions, put into effect because of the coronavirus pandemic, less than a month before it was supposed to expire anyway. The legal issue is distinct from those surrounding a new moratorium that applies in most of the country that the CDC imposed last week. Over 3 dissenting votes, the court said New York could no longer enforce a provision that allows renters to stave off eviction by submitting a hardship declaration form that tells the state they lost income or had more expenses during the pandemic, or that moving would harm their health. The pause on evictions expires at the end of August. The court's ruling allows some evictions to resume. Good news. All right, that's what I wanted to hear. Some evictions in the state of New York are finally going to be allowed to resume. Now, we'll see if the state fights that in any way, but I'm glad that the Supreme Court put out this decision. This scheme violates the court's long-standing teaching that ordinarily no man can be a judge in his own case, the court wrote in a brief, unsigned opinion. But Justice Stephen Brewer wrote in a dissenting opinion that the legal issue is not that clear. Moreover, the challenge law will expire in less than 3 weeks. Breyer wrote, saying such drastic relief is not appropriate at this time. Justices Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor joined in his opinion. A separate measure remains in place that protects renters if they can prove to a court they've suffered because of the pandemic. So yeah, there's still part of their eviction moratorium in place, but it says that they have to be able to prove to the court that they've suffered because of the pandemic, and then they will be offered these eviction protections. But what looks like the thing that was thrown out by the Supreme Court is this declaration form, a hardship declaration form. So I guess in New York State, I think I've gone over this before, in New York State, a tenant, all they had to do was just provide this hardship declaration form that says they lost income or they had expenses because of the pandemic, and then they would be protected by this eviction moratorium. So that left open an easy way for tenants to lie or mislead or sway people into getting these protections even when they didn't deserve them. And the Supreme Court just threw that out. They're like, hey, this hardship declaration form stuff is nonsense, it's not legal, and we're getting rid of it. And that might help some landlords really be able to get rid of some of these bad tenants finally. In a statement Thursday night, New York Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, who will become governor when Andrew Cuomo resigns August 24th, said she is looking forward to working with the legislature to quickly address the Supreme Court's decision and strengthen the eviction moratorium legislation. She also vowed to help get the funding available to those in need as soon as possible. Lower federal courts had rejected the plea by New York landlords to allow evictions to resume, and the state had urged the justices to follow suit. One major difference between the New York and CDC moratoriums is that the state legislature enacted the moratorium into law, along with providing billions of dollars in assistance to renters and landlords. Congress failed to extend the nationwide eviction moratorium before the CDC acted on its own. Well, here's the thing, okay? They passed the law, and the law, it went against, just common sense, okay, in my opinion. And you're passing an unconstitutional law. You're passing a law that goes against the Constitution, okay? That you just can't do that, okay? You can't just, well, are you suffering hardship? Yes. See, I filled out this form, so therefore I lost money during the coronavirus pandemic. And meanwhile, that person who said that is just lying and just trying to get out of paying rent. So yeah, that was a real hardship on a lot of landlords, especially the small ones. So I'm really glad that the Supreme Court looked at that and they threw out those lower court rulings, because the Supreme Court is the law of the land. It's not these lower courts. A lot of these lower courts are very, very political, and that's unfortunate. Instead of looking at the Constitution like I believe that a lot of judges should do, they're looking at their personal opinions. And if they believe, well, we can't throw this rule out because we believe that we need to help and make sure that these people don't lose their homes. And it's like, yeah, but here's the thing. If keeping people in their homes means that we have to violate the Constitution and then lose all of our civil rights, then it's not worth it, okay? It's not worth it. And it could very well extend to other parts of the Constitution, okay? Do we want to lose our right to free speech, our right to religion? Do we want to lose our right to bear arms? No, we don't, okay? And we cannot allow them to break this part of the Constitution, because if we allow that, then they will go after the other parts of the Constitution, and that is not somewhere I want to be.